Hi, my name is Paul, and I'm a technical consultant with KOSTER Waterproofing. Today I'm going to explain to you this functional model of a salt wall. This is a normal masonry wall with plaster on both sides. But because a DPC, a damp-proof course, or horizontal barrier is missing in this wall construction, water that has salts dissolved in it from the soil are brought up through capillary rising moisture. The water evaporates off of the surfaces, leaving the salts behind. So you have a buildup of salts within your wall. All soils have salts in them. That's chlorides, nitrates, phosphates, sulfates, more or less. But through this continuing cycle of water evaporation, leaving the salts behind, the salts do build up in this wall. Here you can see the salts have come out. The crystallization is an expanding force causing tensile pressure within the wall, causing it to fail. So this is the buildup of the wall. Both sides are exactly the same, but this side has normal lime cement plaster on it, while this side has a KOSTER Restoration Plaster on it. And you'll see the difference in their functionality. So here we've turned the wall, and we can see how a normal lime cement plaster reacts to this salt. A normal lime cement plaster is not hydrophobic, will let liquid water come all the way to the surface where the water evaporates. This brings the salts in solution to the surface of the plaster. And as the water evaporates away, the salt crystallizes, and you can clearly see the expansive force damage in the surface of this plaster. You can also see the residual salt directly on the surface of the plaster. Now let's turn this around and see the KOSTER Restoration Plaster side. Here, the KOSTER Restoration Plaster was applied with the same methods at the same time as the normal lime cement plaster was. Due to the differences of a KOSTER Restoration Plaster, such as its hydrophobicity and high porosity, there is no damage visible on the surface, and there is no physical damage to the structure of the plaster. Here, the water with salts in it, drawn up into the masonry through capillary action, cannot get through the restoration plaster because it's hydrophobic. Therefore, the water has to begin evaporating from the surface of the masonry itself. So the salts that are left and deposited are deposited deep in the plaster. Also, restoration plaster has a very high porosity, so these salts are allowed to crystallize and concentrate within the depth of the plaster, where they can expand into the pore system while doing no mechanical or physical damage to the plaster itself. Therefore, these plasters can store and trap a lot of salts in them and no damage. It's proper to install a horizontal barrier or a DPC into the wall, which will mechanically and physically stop all rising moisture inside the wall and therefore stop any salts from getting into the height of the masonry. Now, let's look at the face of this wall one more time. As we can see, the salts have bloomed or effloresced all over the typical lime cement plaster. However, they have been brought into and stored into the depth of the KOSTER Restoration Plaster. So, we've seen the difference between a typical plaster and a KOSTER Restoration Plaster. Now, normal construction practice is to build a damp-proof course or a horizontal barrier into this wall system during construction. If that has not been done, or if the DPC has somehow failed, KOSTER has many methods and materials to post-install a DPC into this wall. There are products like Maltrol 2C, Maltrol 2C Flex, Crizine Cream, and Crizine Concentrate. And these are all different products, so we can successfully post-install a horizontal barrier and stop this constant damage process. So, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I hope you've learned the difference between a normal plaster and a restoration plaster, when it should be used in cases of salt-burdened walls, and the functionality. Thank you. Have a good day.